Well, why we're experiencing cognitive overload has a lot to do with living at this particular point in history. In case you haven't noticed, we're living through a time of profound disruptive change
Mhm,
on many, many fronts.
mhm,
This is a consequence of many things, but in part, it's a consequence of globalization.
mhm,
It's a consequence of maturation of Western societies. Um, there have been a lot of there are a lot there's a lot of economic dislocation, to say.
mhm,
So businesses, industries falling by the wayside. It's a time where people really, you know, can't necessarily grab hold of something that is there forever, right? It's so change. So everyone is aware of that. Now, one of the consequences of that affect agency is anxiety. We feel, as again, we're analog creatures. We feel anxiety when we feel insecure, when we don't have certainty, or we have great insecurity. How we've been living in the last 20, 30 years has created more insecurity. People don't feel like they can count on something being around long term. So they need to be on their toes each and every minute, which in some ways it can be exhilarating, and it can be a great learning opportunity. The bottom line, though, is we live in a highly anxious society, and a lot of people are completely unaware of this, which is always interesting to me. But I'll be really brief here, um, because it's so important to our level of agency. Um, First of all, the United States was rated by the World Health Organization as the most anxious nation on earth a few years ago. We have 20% of the population that carries a clinical diagnosis for anxiety disorder in the United States. That's 20% of the population. There are many millions more who are undiagnosed. So we're a very anxious nation, and anxiety is contagious. It's socially contagious. So for most people, they're not even aware they're anxious because everybody else in their life is anxious. Now, anxiety, a little bit of anxiety is fine, but over the long haul, anxiety erodes agency. And so one of the reasons why we wrote the book is we wanted to not deal with the anxiety contagion that exists in the United States through, medication and through the standard sort of symptom management, but really go at that through building greater agency. So, but anxiety is an antagonist to agency, and we have a lot of it in this country. So that's one. Those are just some big picture kinds of things that are out there that can be um, antagonizing or antagonist to agency. Um, but a lot of it has to do with how we live. And in some ways, if we just look to other people, to our right and to our left, and see how other people are living and decide, oh, well, that must be just how we do it, you know, that limits your agency because most Americans are not very healthy people. We have an incredibly unhealthy population in any way you look at it. That affects agency negatively in a big way. And so, people have to educate themselves. They have to learn how to live in a healthier way, make healthier choices. And they can't necessarily just look to their right and to their left because the people around them may not be living in a way that promotes greater agency themselves. So anyways, that's some of the things that impairs our sense of agency.